already back. Hi, we've missed you.
We have missed you so much. Welcome back to GovConHacks. If you're new here, I'm Ashley Dole.
Natasha Velez.
Joined by my beautiful co-host, Natasha Velez. And you may have noticed we had forgotten to schedule this episode this week. One of those reasons was not necessarily forgot, but we didn't even know what we were going to call it. So we had to kind of divert from our regularly scheduled programming to keep you guys updated on the executive orders, and things are flying off the shelves. It goes left, it goes right. We have to be ready to pivot. So we are going to do these episodes bi-weekly for the foreseeable future. And then we'll resume back to regularly scheduled programming. So thank you for joining us this evening. And we're going to get into, what's happened in the last couple weeks. So last week you weren't with us. I did a subcontracting plan overview. So it's been 2 weeks now of executive orders. What have we missed? Let's jump in.
Let's do it. Let's start with the information I know. But 30-day freeze on P cards. What does that mean? Well, no one's swiping any cards for the next 30 days. Right. Hopefully that's all. But I think that we are in the middle of, the SBA is in the middle of an audit. They have some new leadership. They're cleaning house. From what I understand, some levels of percentage for the 8A have changed as well with that change. We can kind of talk about that more, but one of the changes were that while they're in the middle of their audit and reviewing financials and loans and all that good stuff and purchases, they are putting a freeze on the purchase cards for the contracting officers.
All government credit cards, yeah. So if you happen to be in products, you get a lot of POs from the government. Typically they pay your invoice via credit card. You're not necessarily submitting to WAWF in this situation. You may be affected. If you're in construction, probably not going to be affected all that much, right? The micro purchase threshold in construction is only $2,500. So I'm sure that won't break a lot of your revenue streams. So not really big news there, but something to be aware of. That may, for example, cause a delay in some of your payments on the existing invoices. It may result in future scrutiny on micro purchases. So whereas up until now, pretty much a contracting officer or a program manager could swipe that credit card, minimal oversight. Now there has been talk of increasing the acquisition regulations, which I thought was interesting, at the same time that we're having the conversation about increasing oversight on procurement card spending too. So if there is a lot of fraud and waste, hopefully, the audit will find it. But we do expect that those will change. Now, what do you think? Do you think that they'll increase the thresholds? They wanted to increase the micro purchase threshold, the simplified acquisition threshold, and I think there was one more, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they will, and it's just going to come with a lot more scrutiny in regards to watching how you're spending. So with your P card, you have the ability to spend quite easily. That's kind of a way to easily spend money that hasn't been allocated or authorized, right? So if we're trying to be more internal control driven, we're going to want to go through a process. And it's really just putting that back into the process. Like if you're not being responsible with the P card, then maybe we need to go back to a simplified acquisition. And if we find that there are more costs that are not going through the P cards and we're going to push it to simplified acquisitions, increasing the level might be helpful. So I am not necessarily, I'm completely for it. So far, I'm not opposed to it. I think you got to take your wins where you can. So some of them, you can have some positives to some of the changes. Like I get the concept of audits all day long. Finance.
As the CFO, you kind of have to. That's your world. It terrifies most of the rest of us, by the way. We hear an audit as a contractor, and we're like,
I want internal controls. I want people to make sure that we are spending taxpayer dollars responsibly, of
Right.
course. Um, so it's just something to be conscientious of. We're just being a little more proactive. In fairness, in the government world, many people outside don't really realize this, but we're backed up. DCAA hasn't done like audits in almost like 7 to 8 years. So
Really interesting.
they were kind of bipartisan putting it out to DCMA. At one point, DCMA was jumping in, and they're just really hardware and materials, but they jumped in and provided support to DCAA. To those also, when that got filled, they started outsourcing it to subcontractors and to primes to do auditing for them because they were so behind. So I think the average was like 7 to 8 years. And that's literally what they said in the SBA too. They're like, we're really behind in those audits and those internal controls. So if you're that behind, you don't know how much fraud, waste, spending, what was okay, what's
Could
not
have
okay. I think
possibly
we're
happened
just
in that time, yeah.
starting to like touch the surface of like who got a 2020 PPP loan that shouldn't have had it, right? So that's
Right?
how behind we are, right? So
I mean, you gotta love the ones that turned up. I'm not gonna mention any names, but
yeah, I know.
they got their PPP loan and all of a sudden they had a brand new jet, for example. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna have
It
to
sounds
pay
like we
all
don't
that
have a
money back
business. We just had an EIN.
eventually. Um,
So I get
Travel
it.
budgets have been affected drastically.
Mhm.
We all felt that at the 8A conference,
Yes,
and
we did.
there were some agencies there, but a lot of them either didn't show up or had to cut their trip short.
Yeah.
Like my last matchmaking session. So I stayed
Mine
until
was
the
mine.
very
Mine's
end.
was scientific research right next door.
Oh
Um,
yeah?
like, yeah, we had the research next to us, and like SIBR's research and development, that's on hold. Grants are on hold.
Oh yeah, those are on
Um,
hold. Well, no, I believe the other day the federal judge ruled that
we can continue.
indefinitely there can be no stop to grants or loans.
I think
So
it's like
that is,
NIH SIBR's
yeah,
research
the
development.
SB. I
Yeah.
did hear some mumble about the SIBR and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
STTR program. Haven't seen an executive order or anything come down from that. And there has been a lot of bark, right? A lot
Right.
of bark and no bite. It's almost as if the waters are being tested to see how much we can get away with. And then
Yeah,
when
well,
everybody's like, "Roar," it's like, "Oh, wait, never mind." So just be patient.
well,
We're
when like
still,
when a judge pushes back, you notice that they're kind of just like, all right.
yeah,
So
some things are taken through the court, but some things they've kind of backed off on
yeah,
as a lower priority.
yes.
Um,
Choose your
what else
battles.
is there? What else has happened? There was an executive order on
There's been a lot of executive orders.
the efficiency initiatives. There's a lot of moving parts going on right now. So far, no changes to any small business programs or anything like that,
No,
other
but
than what we
mm,
talked about in our last episode, the
I
SDB
think they
goals.
didn't they lower the 8A from 15% to 5%, where I think it was like the Biden administration, I can't talk
The
today. The
SDB goal.
administration, yeah,
Yeah,
for
so
8A.
for clarity, and this is something that it took us, even as acquisition professionals in the industry, to get
Mhm.
clarity from DoD and from SBA on what's
Right.
the difference, right? So let's go through that for our audience real quick. A small disadvantaged business. Now, if you're registered in SAM, you have had to self-certify right underneath your NAICS code table in your reps insert section. It will ask you, it has a table. It says, are you small under these codes? Most often it'll say yes, 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 yes for most of us. And then it will ask you if are you a small disadvantaged business and give you the definition. The small disadvantaged business or SDB definition is the same as that of the definition for qualifications to the 8A program. So the reason that that even exists is to say that you qualify for the 8A, but you're just not yet in the program. So it's
Right.
possible that that all SDBs are not necessarily 8As, but all 8As are SDBs. Who
Right.
else is an SDB? Think about the Department of Transportation's, the DOT's DBE program, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. some minority-owned business programs at the state level. Now, we have
Right.
seen some states changing their guidelines on their small business programs.
Yeah.
I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I did hear and have not had a chance to verify it yet, that Arizona made some changes to their
Texas also.
certifications. Texas did. Did they do away with their certification program? Do you know?
They got rid
Completely?
of the DBE and the MBE. They haven't gotten rid of the woman owned or any of those yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, I
Here's
feel
the
like
thing
Texas
though,
is the
guys.
standard of
Let's
changes.
I mean, small business program aside, worst case scenario, we're just going to go for small business.
Yeah.
Not everything, it's not like the government's going to stop having needs. And as you
Right.
see a lot of the federal workforce slimming down, sorry about
Right.
that. As you see the workforce slimming down, you essentially, like, the needs aren't, they need to be absorbed somewhere,
Well,
right?
the work didn't go away.
Right, more
Like,
contracts is typically what that will mean, maybe done in a
yeah,
different way.
because they have less people on staff to perform the work. So it just means it's more on the contractor, which means more labor categories for you. So you take it how you see it, but I take it as more money. Um, but that's essentially what it is. It's less, think about it this way. The government really only wants to pay direct labor, right? If they have contract dollars, if they have federal employees, they have to pay the fringe, they have to do the overhead, they have to manage all those employees. Not that it's a great thing for them, because my heart goes out to these federal employees that have lost their positions or are being laid off, and some of them going through emotional turmoil. My heart is like with them
I know,
100%.
it's
Um,
devastating.
but what I'm saying is, this is a great opportunity as a government contractor to utilize this horrible moment as a positive moment and pick them up, because
Right?
they have the inside knowledge that you want. Those are the people you spend your whole time trying to contact. What amazing opportunity to bring
And
them
I'm
into your centerfold.
definitely making an effort to share anybody, if you
Yep.
happen to be listening tonight and you are maybe in fear of potentially being unemployed, or you are already looking, please post and tag me on LinkedIn. I am trying to share every opportunity, every talented individual who's seeking employment. I'm connected with a lot of contractors and a lot of those who are looking. So if we're not connected on LinkedIn, please do. Someone else who's really lending to the community, I have to give a shout out to, is David Valencia. So he has
Yeah.
created 3, I think, AI chatbots in the last week to help transitioning federal employees. And I must say, not for nothing, as a strategist, if you are a transitioning federal employee and you want to come into this side, the dark side, I'll call it, as a business owner, that's where we come in. We can certainly
Yeah.
assist you in streamlining your company, and getting you set up quicker and just
Yes.
cutting through all the noise,
We
to develop
provide
a
no
strategy.
BS mentoring
Yeah.
and coaching, but
Yeah.
you already got a lot of it. So you just need that little extra push.
Yeah.
But I
And
have
it's
seen that change. I
Yep,
have seen them.
absolutely. And there's a lot of very talented people in the government that
Mhm.
would make excellent business owners and have that experience as a
Yep.
differentiator.
Yep.
So, you're still getting paid just in a different way. That's all.
Yep. I agree. I
And I would
think
definitely encourage you contractors, grab them up. Grab them
I know
up
we
for
have
sure. If you've
business
been
development wise, we've
considering
been bringing them in.
Yep, if you've been considering hiring, whether it's BD or tech, depending on what the skill set is, if you've been
Yeah.
considering, maybe 2025 is your time, because there is a lot of talent in the pool right now. So definitely, if you're not on LinkedIn already, get
Yeah.
there. That's where most of them are, and they're posting that they're looking.
Right. Another
All
one
right.
I've been getting, and maybe you can spread some light on this because you are the market research data queen. And I will defer to you. Um, I am constantly getting, how do you know where federal spending is going? How do you know what's being taken away? Where to focus? We're taught to follow the money, to follow the resources, follow the data. But when the data is ever changing in such a unprecedented time, how do you
Yeah.
do that?
Well, a couple different ways. The budget is one way, right? That's where the money's allocated. And the money is supposed to be allocated until September 30 of this year.
Mhm.
However, let's say contract gets canceled, right? That money can always be reallocated.
Right.
Where might that money be posted if it wasn't in the budget that was done at the what before Q1 of this fiscal
Yes.
year, federal fiscal year, right? So where do you
Mhm.
find that? Then I would check the forecast. Now, my go-to, and it's advantageous because it helps me keep apprised of the patterns and the changes in my industry is going to be good old usaspending.gov.
Very
Now,
nice.
there are some people that will say, well, Sam ad hoc data. Look, I'm sorry, but if you're new here and you're not used to
Uh,
synthesizing and analyzing government data, SAM is probably not the best place to start, right?
right.
FPDS is kind of the same. Like, you don't really
Yeah.
use that anymore unless you're old school and you've been around here 25 years.
Okay.
USA Spending has some very user-friendly filters.
Right.
Go in there, punch in the keyword related to your core competency. If you insist a NAICS code, I just find that that's not the best way, but it will get you some level of insight into the trends.
Right.
Now, what you want to be cognizant of is that most agencies have a 30-day reporting lag. So at contract closeout, when the data is entered, they have 30 days in order to enter it. Then we
Okay.
see it in the system. DoD, however, unfortunately has a 90-day reporting lag, but it is for security. So we're not going to see what happened in January until like April come through on the spending. And
So
it's going
maybe
to
check
take,
quarter by quarter.
I would say quarter by quarter would be the best practice. And
Okay.
I recommend that at any time we have an administration change. Just because these are different changes than we're used to, it still happens every time the administration changes nonetheless, right? So my
Mhm.
job becomes literally for every client in every industry, every 3 months, repeating that data just so I can see, some customers are going to drop their services from the budget, others are going to pick them up. It's just going to be different customers. So um, pay attention to where your customers are going because they're moving around right now, right? So
Right.
if you have a relationship built in DOE with one person and that one person goes somewhere that doesn't buy what you sell, now you're starting all over from scratch. So make sure that you branch out within your existing customers so that if that one advocate in that agency no longer works there, that you're not reinventing the wheel and starting from the ground up and building that rapport and building that relationship. So get those warm introductions now before too much changes.
Right.
Make sure you know who the end users are, practice your capture.
Yeah, and that's changed quite a bit. I think I remember when Neil, I think it's Neil, had done like this whole he had everybody kind of donate their time to find out who all the capture managers were in each agency and all their contact information to provide like a big database
Yeah, that was on
for
the
everyone.
GovConChamber.com website, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's completely different now.
Yeah,
So
completely different. I
we're
mean,
gonna
and
have
here's
to
the thing
redo
is
it.
we get frustrated when we see one of those generic emails on a website,
Yeah.
oh, small business at doe.gov, but at the end of the day, that's the best case you have for making sure that you get somebody
Yeah.
because people are going to move around, their email addresses are going to go dead, and it's typical. Contracting officers don't even really stay in one buying NAICS for very long. They typically
Right.
shift around anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just happening a little faster right now.
A little accelerated.
Yeah, a little accelerated. Go big or go
Well,
home, I always say.
it is definitely I always tell people like we're not everything is changing, but it's not. It feels very uncertain. You can pay attention to the news, you can get overwhelmed, you can see a lot of biased information.
And a
Um,
lot of clickbait headlines,
oh,
I'm
so much.
noticing
So
so,
much.
so much right here on YouTube.
Oh, everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. I don't even go in. I can't even go in. My husband's like, please turn that off, because it's just like nonstop. So doom scrolling, right?
Yep.
Um, what I would say is the data. Stick to the data. I am
Follow the
not
money.
always the hugest data person. I always kind of go to Ashley for that. But in fairness, I have been pulling up USA spending quite a bit lately
I'm telling
because
you, the
I
better you get
appreciate.
good at that, the
Mhm.
more comfortable you are with your market,
Yeah.
essentially, is only gonna
Yeah.
make it easier for you, and that's
But
just
it's
been a
just the
powerful.
best way for you to do business, like, you because we don't know what's going on, right? Like, you don't wanna
Mhm.
go based just on news and clickbait. You want to look at the data to be able to do your market research and pivot, and that's the great thing about being a small business. You get to
Here's an
pivot.
example. So if I'm in usaspending.gov and I
Mhm.
notice all of a sudden there's
Right.
no contract set aside for my set aside, what do? Right? What you do is you go
Still gonna
see
pay
where
it
they
off.
are. It's not necessarily that they're no longer buying, but something's changed, right?
Yeah.
The data will tell you what's changed if you know how to look and what you're looking at. So what I would do is go and look at, say, last federal fiscal year, pull up my set aside in my category or my keyword, look at that number. All right, I'm going to write that down. Now I'm going to go and do it for this fiscal year. I'm going to
Right.
grab that number, write it down. Then I'm going to remove the set aside
Mhm.
and see how that differs. Maybe there was a shift from, I doubt there will be a shift from 8A to small business, but say woman
Mhm.
owned small business to small business, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever that shift might be, you'll be able to see it in the numbers. So
Yes.
then you can look at who the new buyers are and then proceed. It's
Mhm.
it's definitely not detrimental. It's no reason to like halt progress. Now, the only time you might want to diversify, if all you did was DEI consulting, for example, you might want to go into like leadership management development
You're in
training.
human services.
Yeah, some
I was
things.
like, you
Do
do
some sort of training or some sort of the same thing in a different way,
what was the other one?
right?
Consulting. That's
Yes.
another one.
Yeah, I saw something today about 541611 being dead. What's going on
Yeah,
with that?
well, they're canceling all consultant
All
services.
consulting contracts.
Yeah, that's a rough one because that's such a big NAICS code.
It is a
Um,
huge NAICS code.
they were like, "Well, if you can't figure it out, then why are we paying you to then pay someone else to teach you?" And so that is the concept. Is it wasteful to have a consultant for someone that you hired that should be a professional? But even in small businesses, large businesses, we all have consultants. We need that. You don't can't know everything.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say, I mean, there's arguments on both sides of the coin for
yeah,
that because I don't expect anybody to be able to synthesize the data like I do that hasn't done it a million times. They would
yeah,
hire a consultant. But if you're consulting somebody that does the same role or similar role, like you
right.
might as well just make that training, right?
Correct.
Instead of
Correct.
consulting. So I can see where somebody might be able to use both areas of budget a little.
Maybe to shift. Maybe to shift
Yeah,
it.
there's a little gray area there. That makes
Yeah.
sense. But
Let's
administrative management, general management consulting is such a big NAICS code. Like, for example, some of the IT consulting that I do, they
project
put it
management.
under,
Things are like
well, they don't
in
put it under that. They put it under
administrative.
administrative management and general management consulting.
That might be
So,
next to go.
I mean, who knows? Some of the acquisition support and the
Right.
contracts. Now, that's one that always made me scratch my head.
Right.
If you're a contracting officer, and maybe somebody in our audience can help me see the perspective here.
Yeah.
In what situations would I, as a contracting officer,
Mhm.
hire a contractor for acquisition support?
I do
That
see that a lot.
that
Not
might be one of the areas, because I do see that under the 541611 a lot.
yeah, I do too.
And then the PSC code is something acquisition support or program management acquisition support. I can't remember off
Yeah.
the top of my head.
I'd have to see exactly what they're doing, like the scope of work, but you're right. They do have that. I'm not gonna lie. There's many times I've seen things and I'm like, aren't you supposed to do that?
I mean, if it's
Oh,
just sharing and, some folks like will hire a consultant. AV network guy said I'm a consultant and they need him most of the time as a subject matter expert.
yes.
So here's the thing. Let me ask you, AV network guy. If they hire you as a subject matter expert and you're a consultant,
Hmm.
are you not training? Could you be training? Could you consider what you do training? So there's maybe some ambiguity there.
Yeah.
Tell me what your thoughts are.
It's a good point.
I mean, right, because it's worth hashing out. I mean,
That is
we
a good
probably never
corner. That
come
was
to
a
a
good one.
resolution because there's arguments on both sides, but
Yes.
at the end of the day, it will be what it will be, at
I feel like
least.
consulting is training. It is. The
I,
two.
right.
You
So
didn't learn anything but what
therefore,
I consulted. What is the purpose of the consulting?
and every agency has a training budget.
Yes.
So I can
What about
see where there might be a little
you see
waste.
the one about the O&M? The
OPM, and I've seen a lot of OPM recently. I didn't see O&M. So AV Network guy says he has to find a solution and light training for the staff. So, okay, you're the consultant. They tell you, I have this problem, and you tell them options on how they can solve it. That makes sense. They also sometimes will just put out an RFI and make crowdsource the solutions. So, right. And this is just me playing devil's
That's a
advocate.
good point.
It is a good point because I know plenty, and I'm sure that you've seen this too, because I'm in IT space.
Mhm.
A lot of agencies will just solicit that information for free.
Yep.
So, it's just something to think about. And if I'm a contractor and I'm in that space, justifying and think about this as content for your future proposals, justifying the why
Yeah.
is essentially demonstrating your value, right? So be prepared for someone to ask you, well, why couldn't I just, right? And be
Right.
prepared to explain that. Leave no question in an evaluator's mind. And I just wanted to use this one as a use case because there's valid points, right?
Yeah. That's a good one. I think it was the Office of Management and Budget. Am I saying it right?
OMB?
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, let's go look.
Yeah, they had
What do we got here? There's nothing but a paragraph on the website, so that's not where I'm supposed to be.
they are slashing and laying off. White House Office of Management and Budget announces incoming senior appointees a mass federal worker layoffs. There you go.
Yeah, and that's
That
every
was actually,
agency
I
pretty
think,
much.
yesterday that they did.
I think all of the
Yeah.
probationary workers were cut.
Workforce optimization. I think that's the plan there.
Now, and here's the thing is I'm a big fan of working smarter, not harder. No secret there. If I can automate it, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
But best practice, at least at Dole Dev, is to evaluate said process before cutting off our
Yeah.
noses to spite our face. Like it's I can see why folks are concerned.
Well, because
But
it does feel a little rushed. We're just
it's
like laying off, and then I think there was at one point where Musk laid off a couple of federal employees, and then a lot of federal employees. Let's be real, and then was like, "Oops," and I was like, "What?"
oh no, we
Don't-
were just kidding.
This is people's lives. It should be oops. No, we
Yeah.
made a mistake. Like, no, that's the reason for maybe not rushing.
Yeah.
So only time will tell. But government contracting's not going anywhere. Keep your finger
No.
on the pulse. Follow the data.
Ooh, I just remembered one.
What?
Tell me about this Verizon contract being
Oh,
canceled.
yes, the FAA.
So and keep me honest here. The
Yeah.
FAA is canceling a more than $100 million contract to Verizon for Starlink.
Yes.
Hmm,
Musk Company.
interesting.
Is that not a conflict of interest?
Hmm.
Everything we've learned to do and not do is just being tested through the ringer today. This whole administration.
I
Yeah.
I have so many opinions on that.
2.4
But we'll save
billion.
that for another.
2.4 billion.
4 billion?
2.4 billion.
2.4 billion. I'm sorry.
And that's
2.4
not
billion.
even the other. What was the other one? He got one for the Teslas. I think it was like somewhere around 20 something $1 million to make
No,
Teslas bigger.
I admittedly wasn't really following that week, but I gotta say, I heard like bits and pieces of this information.
He's been
So I
winning like
hear
multiple contracts.
immediately it was we canceled the Green New Deal, and then we immediately bought Cybertrucks. I was
Yes,
like,
that's exactly what happened.
what just happened?
So I'm just sitting here like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what just happened.
Only time will tell. So not everything is data driven. Some things are spontaneous.
Some things have zero logic behind them at all.
And government contracting, right? All right. So we can only hope that we keep ourselves open to the information, stay educated, watch the news, maybe not watch
Track the
social
trend.
media.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, there's
That's all
nothing
it
of
is.
value that I
It's not.
get from the news in this industry. I hear something, they put the spin on it, they want to scare the
Right.
public. And the first thing that I do is I go and I read the executive order
Right.
because I just tune that out and I read the executive order. Okay, what does this mean for us?
Yes.
Um, and here's the thing is it's probably not going to stop. I expect at least through March it's going to be pretty
Mhm.
much the same. I expect maybe the second quarter we might start to see things even out a
It'll
little
slow
bit.
down after that, but he does have, in fairness, he made a promise. He made a huge amount of promises, and he's trying to fulfill that within the first quarter. So I think like the second quarter, third quarter, you start to see that kind of decreasing a little bit. Um, so it won't be so crazy. But ultimately, the goal is to save money and take that savings and hopefully put it into better contracts, more efficiency. That is the goal. We could only hope for the best. We don't always know what people are thinking or what's going on behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
There's
I was
so
talking.
many nuances. You're right. And we're not going to know.
We're not going to know
We can
everything.
suspect, we can,
Yeah.
but we're not going to
Try not to
know.
get emotional. Let
Right.
us
Just
follow where
follow
the
the
money
money.
goes.
Yep. Follow the money, go back to the basics. And here's the
Mhm.
thing is it's all in the strategy. Government
Yes.
contracting is a strategy. Your strategy may not look like the guy next to you.
Right.
Um, they may be similar if you're in the same industry, but
Right.
that's what it is. You target your market. Hopefully, you're marketing your company. As new people
Mhm.
are moving in and out of agencies, you're making yourself a agency hold name instead of a household. I know I'm corny. Anyway. We are actually over time. Does anybody have any questions before we sign off for the evening?
No.
Any questions in the chat?
I paid $32 in fuel in my Tesla in the morning.
Uh,
But if you
that's
drive too far, you're screwed.
yeah. Okay, so hold on a second because I
Those
have a
are rural
story for that.
areas.
We were coming up and if you guys know the Tampa Bay area, you may know Route 19, right? It's one of the most
Oh,
dangerous highways in the
yeah.
country. And we're coming up over this embankment in the fast lane. And the
Uh-huh.
speed limit on this road is 55, right?
Uh-huh.
If you're going 65, you're going slow. And we come up over this hillside and stopped right at the bottom of the hill, maybe a quarter football field length, and ahead of us was a Tesla.
Uh-huh.
When those batteries run out, they do not play around. Like your car
Mhm.
stops. And
Yeah.
we had to slam on the brakes and dodge out around it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, wait, is that how it happens though?" I thought For
Well, I think
sure, there
the
would be
US
some
is
sort of
not as
reserve.
I think the US doesn't have as much, and I think we're working on that, but like we don't have as much outlets to like charge, right? So like I went overseas and Tesla chargers everywhere.
Interesting.
California everywhere. Like Tesla's like super popular in California, and they have like a charging station everywhere. Everywhere you park, it's you can find them so easy. So I think it's just about like the readiness and availability of it. I mean, you
Mhm.
find more fueling stations than you find charging stations. But if
That's
they made
true.
two in tandem, I think that would make it easier. I don't
But
think
the
it's a
guy
bad
didn't even
business
have enough
as well.
battery to get out the side of the road. He was leaning against his car like this. I was like, I'm so worried for his life right now.
Yeah, if you're
I
in the
was
middle of it, that's
terrified for him. But that was
um,
interesting.
I know. Um, but you guys used to manage your contracts, multiple contracts at one.
I'm glad you asked.
Go ahead, Ashley.
So we actually use Monday.com,
Oh,
and pretty much all of us use Monday.com,
yeah,
specifically the CRM for the emailing capabilities. We're able
it's
to
just
submit our
easier.
contracts right from there. So I am, in full disclosure, a partner of Monday.com. So if you do use my link, it does not affect your pricing, but you can claim your free efficiency session with me and get
Mhm.
ongoing support for onboarding. So
Yeah.
I will pop my link here, and feel free to use that. That will ensure that you get the email to claim your link. If you don't get that email, I drop my email in the chat. Please do let me know.
Yeah, Monday.com is an amazing tool. Um, Ashley put me onto it and it just makes my life so much easier. I have more visibility than ever before. I can see where my contracts are, what's the status of them. She even set it up so that it feeds from HireGov literally into, which I sat there and was like, I didn't know that could happen. I was sitting there really looking at every single opportunity, updating it for all my clients. She
Oh my
made a
gosh, no.
sweet automated system through Monday.com. So, yes, check it out.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a game changer for us. We have implemented dozens of them already. And we are also a HireGov partner. So whether you already have HireGov or if
Mhm.
you are new to HireGov, either way, it's fine. We can still set up the solution for you.
HireGov's
Basically, when you add an item to your HireGov pipeline, it just shoots it straight into Monday.com.
yep.
That way you can efficiently manage your proposal process and what have you. So let me know. Reach out to us if that would help you in your workflow. I know that this
Yeah.
can be very time consuming. I can't imagine managing all of those proposals and copying and pasting all that solicitation information
It
for so
does.
many people, including ourselves, like not to mention our own bid strategies. Like it would
Yeah.
be a literal nightmare. So
And just so you know, for those that don't know what HireGov is, it is way better than SAM.gov because you get to also see SLED opportunities, state, local, and education. So, and I get to see grants on there, SIBRs. I love it. And it's affordable, right? Everyone kind
it
of
is
goes to that
affordable.
GovWin, and I love GovWin, but it's not small business friendly by
Not
any
always
means.
budget friendly, right? The
No,
Deltec, the GovWins of the world,
they're
right?
great, but for bigger companies. So,
Right. You can get
higher
a
gov.
HireGov subscription for,
Mhm.
$500 a year if you're one person. I think 2,500 if you are a team of 10, I want to say. Don't quote me. 5? Is it
It's
5?
okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
'Cause I was looking at
Um,
expanding it and I was like, "Mm."
but we actually, so if you're brand new or if you already have a HireGov account, you can click that link right down below to start
Mhm.
your free trial. During your free trial, let's have a meeting. Let's talk about it. We want to make sure it fits your needs, because if you're already using something and you would have to migrate over to a new system, we just want to make sure we set those expectations correctly, as far as what that's going to take, and to make sure it is going to actually save you time. If you're
Right.
using a spreadsheet, I'll tell you right now, come talk to me, because it's 2025. You should not be
I
doing that
quite
anymore.
literally send everyone that uses spreadsheets to her.
I,
And
I
there's a lot of people that still do.
I mean, well, that's because you don't want to have to manage the proposal from a spreadsheet in an email box. That's not the move.
I will send them to her first, and then they can come back. That's
I'm all about working smarter, not harder. I mean,
yes,
it's already so time consuming. Why make it worse with laborious, tedious processes, you know?
agreed. Well,
All
this was a
right.
really good session.
I don't see any more questions. No more questions. Thank you guys for showing up tonight. I appreciate you all and for being all chatty in the comments. I love when you're talking to us and we
I
feel
do
like we're
love
not
it.
up here like talking heads.
I
So
know.
we hope that you have a great weekend. And if you are watching us on demand, we do check the comments pretty much daily. So if you ask a question, you'll get an answer.
Have a
Anything
great
else
day,
you have
guys.
before me? All
No, just
right.
stay safe out there. Stay healthy. Don't doom scroll. And may you all prosper in your business. If you need any help, we're here to help you. Proposal manager and BD and capture and Monday and hire Gov,
Yeah, I'm
girl.
doing a lot more Monday and I'm doing a lot
2025
more
gonna be awesome,
workflow automation and strategy that I'm doing
right?
BD anymore. So I'm super
Get
happy
it.
about that. We'll leave the BD to Andy.
Yes. It's really good at
All
it.
right, ladies and gents, you have a great rest of your week and weekend. We will see you back here. Actually, 2 weeks from today, I will be in Arizona. So we might do next week and then skip
Yes.
that week. Start our
Okay. We do it.
bi-weekly frequency next week because I
We
would
do
hate
that.
to leave them hanging for 3 weeks. That's kind of a long time to be.
Or you could do to me what I do to you. I could just hold down the fort by myself and do a
Oh my
training.
gosh. It was two of us and we were 2 minutes into our episode before we realized that we hadn't pressed the live button all the
That
way.
would be
Can you imagine her doing
that would
this
be
on her
me.
own?
I almost died the last time I had to do a training. I was like, please don't leave me ever again.
That
I'm
training went very
traumatized.
well, I might add. I was very proud of you.
Thank
If
God.
you haven't checked out Natasha's pricing training, she did both
Oh,
products and services. They are on our channel
okay.
for on demand. So you can search those out in the keyword searches.
What
All right,
What
everybody.
part of Arizona are you going to?
Phoenix for
Oh,
the
Phoenix.
Arizona MBDA's Government Procurement Conference. It's a one-day
Okay.
conference. I'll be doing 3 of the 5 sessions.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I don't do a whole lot of in-person speaking. You know, I kind of started my business right before COVID hit. So
Okay.
here we go. I'm excited. If you are in Arizona and you will be at the conference, please come up and say hi. Let me know you're a listener. I love meeting you guys at these conferences.
Get it. I think AB Network guys gonna see you. More business.
Yeah, if
All
you want
right,
to come out,
guys.
come out. That'd be awesome. All right. I will see you all next week then. Take care of yourselves and let us know if you need help. Have a great weekend.
Bye, guys.